Centipede Demon is an optional encounter in the Demon Ruins, blocking a major part of Lost Izalith. It is possible to bypass it and finish the game without beating Centipede Demon, but if you want to fully explore the Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith, then you will need to kill him. The main issue in the fight is the presence of a large amount of lava, and even if your character has a lot of health and a lot of fire resistance, this lava will kill you almost immediately. You won't last 10 seconds in this. So what you want to do is find some safe ground to stand on and fight the demon there. There's two options. The first one is a bit faster, but a bit riskier. And as you enter the boss fight, you just run to the right and then take an immediate left onto this open patch of land right here. This is very close to where the demon already spawns, so it doesn't take him long to get to you, and you can basically start doing damage immediately. The second option is staying on the right and making this jump here, and reaching this enclosed area in the very corner of the arena. There's also a lootable corpse here that has 2 green shards on it. The advantage of choosing this spot is that the demon will take a bit longer to get to you, which means you have plenty of time to heal yourself, and if you have any weapon buffs you want to apply, you can do that as well, simply because you have a few seconds before the demon even starts attacking you. Speaking of weapon buffs, anything that's sorcery or faith based is still going to work perfectly fine for this. Keep in mind that the pine resins are not going to be doing much at this stage of the game anymore, and the boss is entirely immune to fire damage. So if you're a pyromancer, you're going to have to find some alternate means of dealing damage to this boss. Now let's get to the fight itself. At long range in the beginning, the boss will almost always use his tentacle strike repeatedly, and each of these strikes will take him a bit closer to you. Now these strikes aren't difficult to avoid, so you should just walk sideways and maybe do a bit of a roll, and you will be fine. If they do hit you, they do a bit of damage, but they are quite easy to dodge roll through. Now the boss will only change pattern if he's come a lot closer to you. So you can either simply wait there and wait out maybe even 10 of these attacks, or you can be a little bit more proactive about it and try to get close to him. If you're in the center platform, then most of the time the demon will already be close enough to use his other attacks as well. If you've gone to the corner for the safer location, then he will be spamming this attack quite a bit. So what I would recommend is going all the way to the back of the wall, right here, and this will make the demon come quite close before he starts doing the tentacle strike, meaning you can actually run up to him and get him to start his melee chain a bit earlier. Once you are at close range, the boss will definitely change patterns. There is a frontal swipe with his right arm and a slam as well. Both of these attacks can do quite a bit of damage. You can always roll through them or just sidestep if you like, but with these particular attacks there's actually another way to avoid them, because you can cut off both his tail and his right arm, which is the long big one. If you cut off one of these arms, then they will basically turn into a little enemy by themselves. And this might seem like a downside, but actually these little enemies are very easy to defeat, and if you do defeat one of them, then the first time you will receive the orange charred ring, which is a very handy item, especially for this boss fight. The most important effect of this ring is that it decreases the lava damage you take substantially. Without the ring you cannot fight the demon in the lava, you will die very quickly. With the ring you will still slowly take damage, but it will be quite possible to heal it when it has gotten too much. So if you're really struggling with the fight, then just try to somehow cut one of his arm or tail off, and you will receive this ring if you kill the little enemy that spawns from that. And then on subsequent attempts, because the ring doesn't get removed from your inventory when you die, you will immediately start the fight with the ring, and you will no longer have the restriction of only being able to stand on very small parts of the arena. If you see him use his left arm for an attack, this is not going to be doing much damage to you because it is a grab attack. And just like the grab attack that Gaping Dragon does, if you spam your shoulder and face buttons on the controller, you will not be taking any damage from this. And even if you're not spamming quite fast enough, you will at least be able to reduce the damage substantially, so it should not be an attack that ever kills you. You can still avoid it, of course, but it's not a particularly dangerous grab. And then, if you're quite close to the Centipede Demon's legs, which is what I would recommend because it's easiest to hit him from there, he also has a stomp attack that he uses quite a bit. Now, this does one stomp on the right and then 2 stomps on the left, so just be aware of that. Generally this has enough wind up to be able to get away. Just ensure that you don't spend all your stamina. As with pretty much any fight, if you get too greedy it can come back and bite you. And the final attack to keep in mind is that the boss has a jump. Now this will just mean that he jumps up and quite a long time later fall down. This is multiple seconds, so it's very easy to react to, and the boss doesn't really track you with this, so as long as you just move away from where he stood when he jumped up, this is not an attack that should be causing you much trouble. However, when the boss is at low HP, he will also add an explosion to this attack, and that does go a lot faster, which means depending on your positioning you will actually have to dodge roll to get away from that explosion. And then there is a final move that he has, but in the ordinary course of events you will never see this. If you are quite a distance away from him and the boss is at low HP, he can start throwing fireballs at you. These don't have much tracking and a little bit of AoE, so by just running to the sides you should be easily able to avoid them. However, as I recommend you stay quite close to the boss, this is another one of those attacks that isn't really an issue in this case because you never actually see it, unless you specifically provoke a situation in which he uses it. So the basic strategy is quite simple. Get him into close enough range where he stops using his tentacle strike, and then just start chopping away at his legs or maybe his tail or his arm, depending on if you want to get those cut off. And eventually the boss will just die. It should be noted that the boss can be poisoned and toxined, but these effects again do damage very slowly, just like with the Fire Sage demon, so using those exclusively to kill the boss will take a long time. It's possible, but I would not recommend it. It's not a very beefy boss, so before long you should have him down to 0 HP. You will be rewarded with 1 humanity and 1 homework bone, and a total of 40,000 souls. In addition, if you did not cut his tail off and get the orange charred ring that way, you will also be guaranteed to get the orange charred ring as a drop. If you did get the tail cut, he's not going to drop you a second one, but this means that if you don't need to cut the tail or you find it very difficult, then you don't have to. You will be getting the ring regardless after you have defeated the boss. Okay, that's really all I have to say about this encounter. It's not a very difficult one. I hope you found some of this helpful, and have a nice day. Bye bye.